I did whip up a intro.
Okay, cool.
I wasn't sure if it seems like after about 18, 19 of these things, maybe we'll just keep chugging along and doing them.
Yeah, yeah. Just
So if you want me to, I can always try to, you know, prep a quick intro.
yeah, for sure.
Uh,
Okay.
I think it's kind of neat that we kind of came up with this thing, and I can't believe we already. This is like I think this is number 19.
This is yeah, because originally 19 was gonna be Hell of the Living Dead,
Yeah.
but we haven't done that one yet. So, and I'm still looking for my DVD. Hopefully, it shows up somewhere.
Was it the other day you said something on one of your was it one of your reviews or something? Was there Oh no, I'm sorry. You had a movie that was never returned to you.
Oh yeah, Below. Oh, that
Dude,
really annoyed me because literally I bought it when it was a new release. So I paid new release prices for it. I let this guy borrow it after I'd seen it once, and I never got it back. I was like, dude, really?
yeah, dude, that happened to me. Well, you'll laugh at this because it really doesn't add up to a whole lot, but
Mm-hmm.
when I was still in the army, I
Mm-hmm.
was in Fort Hood. I was still in that phase of at that point, well, 93, 4, you were still recording stuff off of TV with your VCR.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I had a videotape. I want to say I had a pretty pristine copy of Jaws 2 taped off of you know what, back in that day it probably was AMC, I would imagine.
Mm-hmm.
They like doing their Jaws marathons. Anyways, I think I might have had at least a trilogy on a video cassette. And I lived in an apartment complex, and I lent it out to a guy there in the complex, and never got it back.
Oh man.
God, that pissed me off so bad. And it's just like, taped on stuff, but it was like still though, it's like, they only run those, at least back then they only ran them, usually in the summertime they would run the
Yeah.
marathon. And it was like, God, are you freaking? And I think starting at that point, I started to develop an attitude of, no, 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 I'm not gonna. I mean, I have a friend at work that I'll give anything to any day, but I know I'll get it back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can count on maybe two fingers how many people I would let down.
Yeah. And
Yes.
I mean, the real annoying part, like for me at least, was the fact I still have the DVD cover for Below. So he borrowed the disc,
Ah,
but I still have the DVD, the cover. I'm like, so when I saw that on Hamilton Books, I was like, yes, please.
you
Five
should
ninety five for two movies? Hell's yeah.
earn them a copy.
I
Uh,
should have, honestly. It would have
just,
been easier. Yeah, I found that movie was a lot better watching it this time than when I first saw it.
really.
It's weird because I said so in my review. I remember when I first saw it. I remember thinking, it's a good movie, but like it's not really a horror movie. Because there was like one scene that I could remember where like this ghost showed up. Where when I watched it, the other night, there's quite a few scenes where this ghost shows up.
Didn't
There's
David Twohy direct that?
uh, I I don't know. Let me take a look.
'Cause that's the guy who directed Pitch Black.
Uh, could have been, yeah. Hold on, let me take a look here. Oh my god. I know. I just saw something here, and it's like heard this new band that KK Downing has made.
No.
It's called like KK's Priest or something. He's claiming now that Judas Priest like threatened legal action over the name of his band. I don't buy that. I see, honestly, it just sounds like sour grapes to me. There we go. Yeah, David Towie.
I thought so. Now that you started making me to think about it.
Written by Darren Aronofsky.
Yeah. In fact, I do believe our film tonight was written by the same guy who wrote your very underrated but most appreciated Nightmare on Elm Street remake.
I think so, yeah. Let me take a look. Nightmare on Elm Street. 2010. Wesley Strick. Let's see. Filmography. Wow. He's got some interesting things in his filmography. True Believer, Arachnophobia, Cape Fear, Final Analysis, Batman Returns, Wolf, The Tie That Binds, The Saint, Return to Paradise, Doom, a Nightmare on Elm Street remake, The Loft, Man in the High Castle. Not this though. So.
Oh, really?
No, it didn't look like it.
Oh, he's linked to something I was reading today. What
I'm gonna.
I just assumed it was this.
The thing. There.
Huh.
Let's see, where's my Eric Racer or something? Let's see what he's done. Oh, okay. No, yeah, it says he was a. Oh, okay. So he was a co-writer on A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Okay, that's okay.
With
I knew it
Wesley
was
Strick. Let's see what else he did. That Final Destination 5, The Thing, Hours, Lights Out, Arrival, Bird Box, Bloodshot, Shadow and Bone. Good damn. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. This is one of those movies. I mean, just looking at the menu, it looks better in black and white.
Well, I was hoping. I would assume we're running with the same DVD.
I'm running the Blu-ray.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When you got the guy in the helicopter about to transform,
Yeah.
my menu screen does not show you the transformation. It just shows it beginning to lead into it, but then it cuts to another.
Yeah, like the face crack, it just starts showing that. Like, yeah. Like you just see it like crack a bit and then it changes scene.
Oh.
I wonder if they're the same menus, actually.
Mine just basically follows after Mary Elizabeth Winstead, a bit of it. Then it shows the guy getting pulled under the one building. Shows him looking at the creature under the ice. It starts off with the helicopter flying over the snow, and them looking at the creature. It shows them riding on the block of ice in the camp, putting the drill bit down. Yeah, it's just kind of a montage of quick.
Yeah, just check the messenger. I just sent a little 20-second clip that just shows my menu. I think they might be the same, actually.
Messenger or Skype?
Messenger.
Maybe it's loading. No, yours is a little different. Oh well, no, it's basically the same.
Yeah, so essentially they've done the same menu, but
Yep.
this is the Blu-ray version of it. I have a stupid thing on top saying congratulations on choosing The Thing on Blu-ray. It's like, yeah, if you really wanted to congratulate me, you should just give me the practical effects. That would have been
I'll tell you, irritation on my 4K Blu-ray player upstairs.
yeah.
Whenever I put a disc in there, sometimes a bar will pop up on the bottom saying, "You have alternative ways of watching this same movie," and then
Oh,
disappear. It's like, why? Why? I'm playing physical media. Why are you bothering me?
yeah.
It's like it wants me to click on it so that I can see if the movie is streaming somewhere. I'm like, why would I want to watch this movie streaming when I got the freaking disc in my player?
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe there's like an option in the menus to turn that off. I don't know.
I mean, it only stays for a second. Before I can find the controller, it's gone. But
Yeah. But still, that's an annoyance.
I've never seen that happen until I got the 4K player.
I tell you what, I had something weird happen to me once. It was a long time ago, but I had the DVD of Night of the Demon, the 50s movie,
Yeah.
and I just bought it. I get home, I put it in my DVD player, I put it in, and the menu comes up all in Japanese.
What?
Only ever happened once. After that, it always came up in English, but it came up in Japanese. I'm like what's going on? Like what? Like why is this in Japanese? All I could think is if somehow my DVD player got set to Japanese. It was weird.
What does baby say in Three from Hell? Something Japanese.
Oh,
You got me thinking about what the heck does she?
yeah. What was that?
Was it Three from Hell?
I think it was. Yeah, it might have been Devil's Rejects.
I don't know. I think it was Three from Hell.
Could have been.
The quotes. That's way too fucking funny.
Yeah.
Uh, where is it? Where is it? Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Maybe, maybe it is rejects when they're in their hotel room.
It could be. Yeah.
Dang, I wonder if it is.
Mm.
Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Oh, this is irritating me now.
Okay, now that's weird. I just typed into Google "Three from Hell" Japanese quote, and there are 6 images it brings up. One is 3 monkeys. 3 are like some words or whatever. One's like a zombie, it looks like, and one is Spider-Man. That's so weird.
I, I could have sworn it was Three from Hell, but now I'm looking at rejects and I'm not seeing it here anyway either. Is it too politically incorrect to
It might be. You never know.
put it in the quote section?
No, I think it should be in there. I would assume.
Well, what me and you think ought to be in what?
That's true.
Oh, that gets me mad now. What did she say? She's something like dun, dun, dun. It all rhymes, and she repeats it
Yeah.
over and over and over and oh crap, man. God, now I'm gonna be thinking about that.
I
Would
know
you send
that's
me a
one of
picture?
the annoying things.
That's funny. Three wise monkeys.
Yeah.
Oh man. It is three. No, it's devils. It is devils. It's she's in the hotel room. Uh, uh, well, I'm okay. I'm not gonna waste any more time on this. I just whatever. I guess it'll come up when if we can get this show off that week.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll remember. I'll laugh when I see it.
For sure.
Which gets me to thinking. I bet you Three from Hell is pretty good in black and white too.
Oh yeah.
Which
I'm not sure.
I that was another thing I came across, and I had written down on a piece because I actually wrote a few notes down for that initially. Did you, if you look in IMDb in the technical specs for the House of a Thousand Corpses,
Mm-hmm.
it says it was filmed in both color and black and white.
Oh.
It makes me wonder exactly what was going on with that because I know he
Yeah.
shot it 35 millimeter. I'm pretty sure it was 35 millimeter for that because then he switched over to 16 for Devils.
Yeah.
Um, but it just, I don't know, it makes me wonder what was going on with that exactly. I don't know what that. Maybe that was, I wonder if that was just the TV montage stuff.
Could have been.
But it just seems weird that they would have. I don't know. Anyways.
Yep.
Well, you ready? You ready for the intro? And then we'll.
Yeah.
I got that little trivia too.
Okay, cool.
Remember, I almost forgot about that. You're gonna wanna hear this. All right, you ready?
Yep.
Three, two, one. Hey guys, Rob from Georgia, aka VHS82 apostrophe here with you, and joining me not too far from the great land of Canada, Glenn, aka BDG Reviews, along with Will and the Don. They make up the one and only Graveyard Shit podcast as well. Body Bags is in the house, not quite fresh off our 18th Black and White Nights commentaries, rolling on into episode 19 as we look into Matthias von Henningen Jr.'s forensically motivated film from 2011, The Thing. CGI is aplenty here, as well as some other puzzling issues to deal with, so get the color off your freaking TV sets and settle back for what ought to be one hell of an entertaining evening as we plunge headlong into some questionable rebooted horror and beg the question, was this thing really necessary? What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Not much.
So,
Yeah.
I told you I had a little bit of trivia.
Yep.
Okay, so earlier today, I decided to get a little nostalgic, throwback, whatever. I got out my old full screen VHS copy of the original Thing,
Mm-hmm.
the John Carpenter's masterpiece, The Thing, and well, I did something I've never done in light of my littles running around. I just went ahead and threw it on the living room TV and figured, well, if they stop and watch, they stop and watch. I'm not going to worry too much. But as a result, very early on in the film, I wasn't even paying attention. That scene when he oh crap, what's his name? Is it Fugue? No, not Fuchs. Um, Frank, what's his name that gets shot in the leg at the beginning?
Oh, yeah,
God,
I know who you mean.
he's
Um,
banging on Knowles' door, telling him, asking him to turn down the music because he's been shot today.
yep, yeah.
And all of a sudden, my wife's at the dining room table, and all of a sudden, my wife is like, "What the freaking crap? What is that?" And I'm like, I didn't realize what she meant at first, and all of a sudden, it hit me. That song playing on the radio was not "Superstition" by Stevie Wonder.
What?
It was a totally different song. I'm like, what? And we're all sitting there because the thing is like a staple in my family. I consider this maybe it is one of the greatest films ever made as far as I'm concerned. And so we watch it a lot.
Mm.
And my wife probably, and my oldest son at least, we know the film as well as we know Jaws or anything else like that. And I sat there and I'm listening to it and I'm like, you're right, this is a totally different song. And I'm like, how can that even be freaking possible? So because I was rolling on a VHS, I just waited out when we got the end of the movie and the credits started rolling. Superstition was not even credited in the songs. There was only 2 songs credited in the credits. It was one by crap here. I took a pic of it so I wouldn't forget. One of them, okay, Don't Explain by Billie Holiday. That's the one, that sort of classic old band song that you hear when they're all grouped in the room. Some of them playing pool or whatever. They're all doing something. And the other one that gets credited for Knowles turning down, which he really doesn't, is One Chain Don't Make No Prison by the Four Tops.
Huh.
Now, I did a little looking, and my VHS tape was manufactured or put out for distribution in 1996, and so I thought, maybe my wife is like, maybe it was a copyright issue or something. I'm like, yeah, but I've never heard of a song getting not being able to be played, so another song gets played in lieu of it, and then they fix it. And
it's very rare.
so I ran downstairs and I grabbed my first I grabbed my DVD just to make sure we all weren't going freaking crazy. Threw in my Universal release DVD, and of course it's Superstition, and it's credited Superstition. And so then I thought, I wonder about my widescreen VHS copy. So I ran downstairs, grabbed that, and that one was put out for distribution in 1999, so 3 years later. And put that in real quick and fast forwarded to the spot, and Superstition is there. So something happened between 96 and 99 on those 2 VHS releases respectively, where for some reason there was a copyright issue, and I think I did nail it down now. I think I know where the issue is. My full screen release on VHS was put out by MGM Universal.
Okay.
Screen edition 3 years later was put out by strictly Universal. MGM just have the means to the copyrights to have Superstition playing.
Could be. I mean,
Is
the
not?
only other time I've ever heard of something like this happening was Return of the Living Dead 2. They changed some of the music in that for the DVD release because of like some rights thing. But
Really?
it was subsequently fixed, like on like the Blu-ray release and everything. but wasn't that from MGM as well?
It seems like maybe.
Maybe it's
Maybe.
just something MGM did.
Yeah, boy, I'm telling you what, I can't remember the last time something like that just threw my family into a dizzy.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how it is. I mean, I don't throw in my VHS tapes every day, but it was just funny how everyone just happened to be in the living room and that scene hit, and my wife was the first one that was like, "What the freaking crap is this?" And I'm like, "What? Oh, crap." I was so confused because my wife looked at me and she's like, aren't you our resident thing expert here in this house? And you don't know?" And I'm like, and my brain is scrambling. I'm like, I've never even freaking heard of anyone even talk about this.
No, I mean,
There you go.
I had no clue.
A little bit of trivia. We got the Four Tops on the 96 VHS, and we got Stevie Wonder on the 99 VHS, and forward after that. For whatever reason, you get to listen to Knowles skate over to fake turn down the Four Tops, which it was just, man, it was weird. It was, I don't know if I've ever encountered anything like that.
That's really, really weird. Like really weird. I'm just gonna check something here, huh?
It's weirder to experience, so I'm telling you, man. When you're not expecting it.
Wonder. I'm just wondering who owns the rights to Stevie Wonder's music. Like, is it owned by like Universal or something? Or I don't know.
Well, I could tell you the Four Top song is MCA Records. I wonder what Superstition is.
Yeah.
Maybe MCA Records, because there would have been no copyright issue.
Yeah. So okay.
It was another label.
Could be. Label. Try that. Superstition.
So check it out. I don't know if you'll hear this or not.
Yeah.
That's what Knowles. That's the Four Tops. That's what Knowles turns down.
Oh, okay. I got it here. So yeah, Universal Music Group own the rights or whatever to Superstition. So
yeah, there you go.
And yeah,
Isn't that funny?
That's just so odd.
It's kind of neat.
Like, really odd.
VHS tape that is slightly different than another VHS tape.
Yeah.
Or anything. Geez, now that makes me wonder if there's an issue with the German release on my Das Ding release from Germany.
Maybe.
I'll have to look and sometime and see if there's anyway. So that was a little bit of trivia I wanted to throw at you that I stumbled upon accidentally.
That's damn cool. It really is. It's funny when you get a movie the age of the thing and you still find something new.
Yes, it is. But what we got to somehow deal with now is the forensical prequel reboot, whatever.
Yeah. I call it a pre-make.
Well, what's I have my own thoughts here, but I mean, your initial, did you see it in the theater?
I saw it in the theater, yeah.
Yeah, I did too.
Um, my initial thoughts seeing it in the theater was I was underwhelmed. Mainly because how can I put this? Like there was so much potential in the story of what happened before the events of the first film, and I don't know, it just felt like the same. You know, the same without being as clever as the original. So like instead of like doing the blood test, they do the thing with the teeth and everything. And it's like it's essentially the same test.
So a not so good imitation.
Yeah, pretty much. But that was just me, and also it's like this is kind of like a gripe, and it's not even really about like the movie per se. It's just kind of like what made the original The Thing really unique was the fact that, for one, it had an all-male cast. And the fact that they brought a woman onto the cast for this, I don't know, it just seemed like, at the time, it even like in Norway or whatever, it would have been like an all-male crew there.
You
I
would
don't
think.
know. It seemed like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like we need to throw some women into the mix.
Well, it's funny you say that because from what I've gathered, and I can't remember if I picked it up in the commentary or maybe on some documentaries or whatever,
Mhm.
but it seems to me, if I remember right, Hennigan, his initial want was, and it becomes my three major criticisms, but his desire to have an all Norwegian cast, which I think would have been brilliant,
Yeah, that would have been perfect.
um, to have the entire film subtitled, which I
Oh yeah.
think would have been brilliant,
Mhm.
um, and to be an all practical effects film.
Yeah.
This, if you're going to do, if you're going to try to forensically play, a lead up to, or at least not so much a prequel, but at least sort of an investigative. Let's sort of discover together what had happened at this camp, at this Norwegian camp that we only slightly get a little bit from in John Carpenter's classic.
Hmm.
Um, I think I think the best way you go about it are the three things that we just mentioned. But my major criticism of it's just from a big picture point of view is why not freaking go back into the original source material and reevaluate it in light of what John Carpenter was able to pull from it
Yeah.
and bring some new elements into your story, but from the original source material. And I can think of a couple things. Now, the fact that when they uncover the spacecraft, there are multiple aliens embedded in the ice. It's
Hmm.
just one. That alone has never been dealt with in any of the films.
No.
Um, and the fact that this creature seems to be able to infest their dreams. That was only slightly, I think, alluded to in The Thing from Another World in '51,
Yeah.
but never really played on. um, and in the original story, Who Goes There? it's a much larger cast of characters than what we get in either John Carpenter's movie or Hannigan's movie, but actually is closer to the truth in The Thing from Another World. There's a pretty
Mhm.
big cast in
Yeah.
that old movie, and and even though that old movie wasn't able to um, really pull from the source material in ways the John W. Campbell had laid out as far as this shape shifting creature and everything. Instead you
Mhm.
got it's, James Arness playing the creature, the thing from another world.
Yep.
Um, there are elements embedded. They could have gone back. They could have said, okay, here's what we want to do. Here's our pitch. And pull a freaking Rob Zombie. Here's our freaking pitch. Here's what we want to do. Yay or nay. And when the studio said nay, then they say, all right, fine, we're not making it. Find someone else, but this is copyrighted material. This is our idea.
Hmm.
You know, do whatever you want, but this is our material.
Yeah.
And because that's exactly what Rob would have done. He would have pitched it, and if they would have, gone for it, he would have just walked away.
Yep.
That movie could have been freaking, absolutely freaking brilliant. I think we could have actually had a film for the times, much like The Thing was a film for its times. Instead, and we'll, probably gripe about this throughout the film, maybe perhaps, but some of the things that it just does not gel. It doesn't feel right. It feels forced, I guess,
Yeah.
is a way to put it. And you sort of alluded to that just with Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character,
Yeah.
not just her character, but is it Joe Edgar's or
I think
Edgar?
so.
Same. Egerton or Eggers?
Yeah, something like that. I don't have the
Oh,
case near me, so.
crap. Um, but anyways, it's just I was like you when I was at the theater. I was very underwhelmed. I think the only thing that put a little pep in my step out of the theater was the closing end credits
Oh,
when
I love that.
you had the lead up to the final, the moments leading into, um, and
Yeah,
that was their only saving grace.
I
Although,
remember. I remember coming out of the theater and I thought, "Damn, that was a good 5 minutes,"
yeah,
because it was John Carpenter's material.
I'll say this though: the Norwegian cast that they do have in here,
Oh, they're phenomenal.
freaking, can you imagine a whole freaking cast just those guys?
It should have been. It
And
really should.
been allowed to freaking just because what I heard was these guys. I mean, they were the top line stars up in their country.
Yeah.
I mean, these are like the Brad Pitts of their country. I mean, they're no slouches.
No.
And the one thing they could have done in this movie, and I guess maybe we should just start running the stupid movie
Yeah.
and we talk our way through it. But I mean, one of the things that could have been utilized at least more is the language barrier
Hmm.
causing or being a source of some of um, the
Paranoia and stuff.
yeah, the paranoia, the inability to trust,
Yeah.
and it's only really hardly played with, not to any level it could have been. If you got to have an international cast, the language should have been played upon way much more to help heighten the.
Yeah. You know what it seems like to me? It seems to me like the producers of the film, and I seem to think they do this a lot. They probably thought, like, oh, okay, this sounds like a good idea. And then it's like, but our audiences aren't that smart. Our audiences we need to lead them by the hand, so we need a character that speaks English.
Well, doesn't that go in hand with and I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this on my rec review for Body Bags, just this this inability to just enjoy foreign films without someone saying, let's remake it for American audiences because we all know they're too stupid to appreciate a good foreign film.
Yeah.
So let's
I think that's honestly what
fucking quarantine, or holy crap, suggesting we got to remake Train to Busan. Seriously?
Yeah, it's like, come on.
It's moods. I always used to hear moods say, it's because people are freaking lazy and they don't want to read. So why should the rest of us be punished by having to deal with these horrible movies that get remade?
Yeah, well,
And I know I've stepped on someone's toes out there, but I mean,
no, I mean, it's kind of true. I mean,
Wreck is a freaking phenomenal freaking movie, man.
yeah. The one thing I can say, we're getting a little bit off topic, but not all the way. When they remade Wreck as Quarantine, at least they changed a bit of stuff up. You know, they went with the more medical explanation as opposed to like the demonic of the of the original. So I can appreciate something like that, but there's no reason to remake a movie, like a foreign film, especially. You know, if people want to see the movie, they can see it. They can read like anyone else.
You know, it's a perfect way to do it. Now, I haven't watched them, but I'll just use it as a illustration. Anyways, didn't they basically turn oh freaking come on, that epic train movie that was a South Korean film?
Snowpiercer?
Yeah, Snowpiercer. They turned that into basically a TV series, right? For who did they do that for? What was that?
I think it was for Shudder?
No, it was, I don't know if it was Shutter, but the point is maybe that is the way. That is the way. If you want to Americanize something, that's probably a better way to do it. Create, if the content of the movie allows for it, create a 2-3 season, you know,
Yeah.
show of it for Netflix or whatever. Don't freaking embarrass yourself by trying to make a film for the big screen when we already have a masterful film.
Yeah.
General or possession. But I don't know. We can. You want to? I would imagine we both hit play. Will probably be on the same page.
I should think so. Yeah, I'm running the Blu. You're running the DVD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I should think it would be the same. Well, let's find out.
So the one thing that is the same basically is we're of course watching The Thing, Hannigan's film in black and white with high hopes that at least the CGI will be dulled.
Yeah.
And we'll have a much different impression of a film that I don't think either of us are really that high on.
Yeah.
For different varying reasons, but this may change things at least a little bit, if for nothing else, aesthetically.
Yeah.
So I'm ready whenever you are. If you want to.
Okay. Yeah. So, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, I got an FBI warning. Do you have that?
I have rated R for disturbing. Here's the Universal logo.
Oh yeah, well, I gotta get ahead a bit here. R blah blah blah. Come on.
You want to edit this out and just backtrack and both start at Universal?
Yeah, that'll work.
All right, let me rewind here a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm just a couple seconds before the Universal logo.
Okay, same.
So whenever you're ready, we can count down again.
Yeah. Okay, so we're starting at the Universal logo, so everyone knows. 3, 2, 1, go.
God, look at that.
I know.
Oh, this one already. This puts me in a better frame of mind.
Oh yeah.
And I'll say this: the sound effect. Um, I'm a sucker for good opening. Um, the studio title thing, whatever the appropriate name for that is.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for it, man. If it's done well.
Yeah, very true.
Seeing it in black and white, hearing the sound of the wind, that winter wind effect, that that does, and even the opening scenes here, I think, is much better.
Yeah. I love also that they match the original font. Just in like all like, a Strike Entertainment production. That's the same font they used in the original. Well, Mm.
No, there definitely is no Ennio Morricone on this,
No.
but we do get shades of it from time. Mostly, I think probably towards the end. I always was a big fan of this moment, though. This just the use of this radio following the signal.
Yeah. I mean, it was a good. It's one thing that you always they never assumed. They never really they never gave an assumption as to how they found this thing. In the original, it was always just like, oh, the Norwegians found this thing, and it's like, yeah, but how did they find it? This explains it. Hmm.
In the original novella, it was there some the crap that was buried in the ice was disturbing the magnetic compass,
Yeah,
and so
yeah,
they sort
something like that.
of honed in on that. And I think that's probably played on the original 51 film.
Hmm.
But see, I like this kind of reminds me actually of the ham radio scenes from Ghost House,
Yeah,
Lindsay film.
yeah.
I was a sucker for ham radios and just this kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah, could you imagine if this had all been in Norwegian?
God, that would have been so freaking outstanding.
Yeah, and it would have made sense.
It would have, and you know what? You could have steadily even you know played homage to the idea that there's the American camp, at least subtly, even if no one's really trying to, reach out to them,
Yeah,
but just to be aware of it. But here, it's the way they do it is just, I don't know. It's just having Mary Elizabeth Winstead's character, and it just this more of an international cast. I think it actually undermines um,
Hmm.
the things that the original film did to set up to create a sense of mystery.
Yeah.
Um, because I think when you're dealing with a completely different culture group and how that culture group would have approached something like this
Hmm.
is more fascinating, I think.
Hmm.
We know how the Americans dealt with it already because we have that movie, not just in '82, but in '51 from a different bent. But to have a strictly Norwegian film subtitled would have just been,
Yeah.
man, it could have been.
Now this looks kind of cool.
Now we got to be reminded that it is the '80s. There was this Men at Work here
Yeah.
playing.
Now I'm not sure, but that uh did they have endoscopes back in like the 1980s? That seems a very modern tool, if you will.
I don't know. I just one of those things. It wouldn't surprise me.
Mhm. Love that, yes. Do you know who I am? He's like, yeah, shut up.
Now, see, here's the thing too. Think about this. If the camp is reaching out to these guys,
Yeah.
why the heck would they have not have reached out to that American camp?
Yeah. I mean, it's not like they were at war with Norway or anything.
Was that Palmer's? Maybe we're at war with Norway.
Yeah. We at war with Norway. That was good, yeah.
When he was gonna, when the old Capitan was gonna use his pop gun. God, what a freaking fantastic movie! This one had opportunities,
It
but
really did. I mean, it could have been something special. I think that's what irritates me the most about it. The fact that it could have been great.
yeah, it just even when we get there and we see the craft, I don't
Mm,
know. It just seems. It doesn't seem when all you have is the thing, and that's what you're used to.
mm,
How we approach the craft here in this film it just doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't mesh up for me.
no.
How the Norwegians would have stumbled upon this craft, at least from the perspective of living in John Carpenter's world only,
Mm,
it just seems like it would have been more almost an accidental hazard sort of. They just stumbled into a nightmare
yeah.
and not sort of, oh, big discovery, let's capitalize on it before the rest of the world
Mm,
catches up with us.
mm. That is kind of funny. It's a basketball team. They play basketball. Oh.
So you guys know whatever y'all is doing, you might want to wrap it up in a couple of days. Yeah, what's up? There's a storm over there.
You know, that's the thing I don't like. It's just this sort of, I don't know, force-fed tension in an attempt to create tension.
Yeah.
Just this idea that, well, you better hurry up and do what you're doing because a storm is, we kind of got that already in the thing, that storm, we got to do this before the storm
Yeah.
moves in. I don't know. I think, I used to think the biggest missed opportunities was the fact that they compromised as much as they did with the studio to get it done. But I think the greater missed opportunity was not delving into the original source material where there was still so much stuff
Yeah.
that they could have really played upon.
I gotta wonder about the name of this place also, like the Thule Station. I don't know if Thule means anything in Norwegian, but there is the whole like throwback, like the Thule Society and like Nazi Germany and everything, like the occult society of Nazi Germany and everything. So there is that, which is, I don't know whether they're purposely trying to do something with that, or whether it's just literally they needed a name, so they used Thule. I don't know.
Now, see, I don't know. In the raw TV footage, monitor footage, weren't they blowing up from top down?
Yeah. Yeah. Also, that's kind of one thing I don't really like about this. I don't like that they, well, it's hardly a spoiler because we're watching the movie. I don't like that they end up being able to go in the ship.
Nah, yeah, right. I hate that too. I absolutely can't stand that.
It's like,
That was a failure of epic proportions.
it was. I mean, just, I don't know. They should have just.
The way the final end scene in the ship, the climax with the creature, it's just
Yeah. That's one thing I always kind of thought worked well in the 51 version. Where essentially, they're gonna blast it out with thermite and end up damaging the ship.
and that's
end up,
what and
end up
that's
like blowing up the ship. That was,
well, that was from the original story too. That's
yeah.
But what's great in the story, though, man, the original story, they, in order to get to the craft, they burrowed down into the ice, and then they sort of tunneled their way across.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process of tunneling, they end up embedding an axe in the head of one of these alien creatures.
Mm-hmm.
And so they, carve it out, and then they, in the story, they lug it back to camp. And of course, as slowly but surely this creature is being thawed out,
Yeah.
not only is it already infecting people's dreams, um, but when this thing does, it is about as crazed of an alien.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it is a neat piece of writing. If no one's ever actually read the original source material, it's John W. Campbell's Who Goes There. It is well worth picking up. And
Have you read the extended version?
no, I have not.
Yeah, apparently they found that just kind of recently, so that's definitely one I want to pick up and read.
I was always amazed, in that story. I was always amazed by just the idea that you had multiple things seen in the glow of the ice when the magnesium metal of the ship is being lit up.
Mm-hmm.
They, for a moment, could see into the ice, and they could see multiple things floating there or suspended in ice.
Mm-hmm.
And I always thought that was an interesting aspect that no one, be it the 51, the 82, or the 11, no one decided to capitalize on just the notion that in the original story there was more than one of these.
Yeah. I
And
mean, think of the tension you could rank like ratchet up with that. The
see,
fact that
and that's the thing. I mean, you got like this guy right here, man. This guy's freaking awesome, man, in this movie. Most
oh
of these
yeah,
guys, that guy in the back there, most of these Norwegian actors are freaking. They carry this movie for me, man.
they do
Because I
honestly.
stand Mary Elizabeth Weinstein. I don't like the Joe Eggers guy. I love watching these Norwegian guys.
Yeah.
You can tell that they're they're being held back. They could have carried this film easy on their own.
Oh yeah.
Would have been freaking the guy that just got up and shook hands with her. I mean, he probably would have been your leader, I guess.
Yeah.
It was funny how we got a dog guy too there, but
Yeah. Who looks amazingly similar to the guy in the original.
which is funny. You remember when the scene when McCready was knocking on the door outside, and they're not wanting to let him in, and I think it's um crap, Fuchs maybe, or someone is like, well, what if we're wrong? What if we're wrong? And Childs is like, well, then we're wrong. But then like 15 minutes later, after McCready has shot our dog guy in the head,
Yep.
and we find out through the test that he was not infected, then Childs has no problem looking at McCready and saying, oh, so he was human then, huh? Well, that makes you a murderer then, doesn't it? I thought it was always funny how in the 1 minute he's like,
the complete hypocrisy going on.
well, then we're wrong if he dies, out there but then 5 minutes later he's like, oh, well, then I guess you're a murderer, isn't it? Yeah.
He's kind of like, well, tough. Like, none of us are getting out of here alive anyway, so.
It's even now, I like this idea here, but I mean, they could have capitalized on just this almost Lovecraftian sense of something has come, not so different than The Color Out of Space, just that notion that something has found its way here and they don't know how to process or get their minds wrapped around it.
Yeah. What I just find really funny about this scene is the fact that block of ice is perfectly cut out. It's perfectly symmetrical. And it's cut flat right on the bottom. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but like, I was kind of thought that would look more.
I'll say this though, in black and white, it almost seems like you can see a little bit more clear into the ice than you could in.
I think you can. I mean, black and white just has that ability, to.
It does look good in black and white, though.
It does.
We're gonna have a lot of criticisms and a lot of gripes, but I mean, this is easily my preferred way to watch if I want to watch it.
Yeah. I mean, you obviously will really see when the effects come up, but and like here's this: who is this guy exactly? Like, why is he just able to tell this Norwegian crew what to do? In the future, don't contradict me in front of these people. It's like, I'll contradict you as much as I damn well feel like.
See, this begs the question too. Then, I mean, if this is the sentiment, why even have her there to begin with?
Exactly. And the thing is, it's like I want to say unnecessary drama. Like there's no reason for that whole little confrontation we just had there. There's no reason for it other than, unnecessary drama. I just love that they use what looks to be like the single biggest drill that they own. Like, we'll take a sample with this giant drill. I mean, I get it. They got to go through ice and everything, a lot of ice, but still a hell of a big drill. Like, dude, you stabbed him in the head. He's not going to be too happy about that.
You know, and it's funny about that. That is a slight nod to what I just mentioned not that long ago about them embedding the axe
Yeah.
in the thing's head. The problem is they never play off of this.
Yeah. I mean, they totally could. They could play it off like like no wonder it's pissed. Like we damaged it.
I do love this little song and dance they break out into.
Oh yeah.
It adds a lot.
Yeah.
Adds a lot to the film. But what could have been even more?
I can say unequivocally that I have never seen
Mm. I just wonder, like, yeah, the idea that like it's a, scientific specimen or whatever, but you'd think they'd keep it outside. I mean, you wouldn't have to worry about like freezing it or anything. Just leave it out there. Mm.
See, I would have really loved to get a little bit more time with the thing in the block of ice.
Yeah.
But as it's slowly starting to melt, it's starting to infect some of these guys.
Yeah.
Maybe even take one of these Norwegians, man, and have them, just be completely horrified by a dream he's had.
Yeah.
And and everyone sort of plays it off like, oh, come on, stop, you had a nightmare,
Yeah. I mean, that's something also in the 51 version that I kind of liked. The idea that like, they had like a guy there watching it and he like put the blanket over it because he could see it through the ice and it was like disturbing him. I like that idea. That's something I wish also they could have played with more,
Shoot, I mean, right there, you could have had whoever the person was sitting there, he could have been infected in his dream.
Yeah.
Shoot, it could have been this guy, man.
Mm-hmm. Hmm.
I'll say this though, they did do a pretty good job at recreating.
Oh yeah, definitely. This looks like the set that we saw in the original movie. It everything like they've really done well that way, which is one of the things which makes me irritated about where it hasn't worked, because they obviously cared enough to to get all this right. Hmm. Or imagine you could do like a scene like right here where this guy's looking over like this. If he was looking over where the hole was, and like some like liquid or something came out of it, and that's what caused that's what started the.
Or even you remember uh, that Stephen King anthology had it was incorporated into Creepshow Part 2, The Raft,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
where they would stand at the edge of the raft and get mesmerized
Yeah.
by that oily slick thing that was in the water,
Yeah.
to the point that it would draw them in and cause them to actually fall in.
Yeah. I mean, now that was kind of a pathetic way for it to get out, you know?
See, the movie does not take near enough time as it ought to.
Yeah.
It just moves way too.
Yeah. I mean, like I said though, think how insidious it could be if like it was still in the ice, but it had managed to infect one of them, and then they broke it out.
Or shoot, could you imagine if they came running into that room and it was only like half out of the ice?
Oh, that would have been perfect.
Now, I mean, you got to really think your way through artistically what it's going to look like. But
Mm-hmm.
if you got it right, it could have been a pretty epic moment in the movie.
Yeah. That's something that I don't really like about it. The fact that they give it a definite shape. You know, by the end of the movie, it has like an actual look of what the creature looks like. You know, and it's like what made the thing was the fact that you had no clue what its actual form was. Did it even have one?
And that's the thing. I mean, when the ship arrives on Earth, you know, has this entity already taken over the original pilot of the ship.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the reason for it crashing to begin with.
Yeah. And this here, like, let's be honest, this is right out of the first one. Like, did you leave that open? It's like, I don't think so. It's like right like that scene with McCready where he's like, when I left yesterday, I turned the lights off or whatever. Still, the black and white definitely works, and it makes it a hell of a lot better. Lars is dog.
Now, this is not the first time either of us are watching this in black and white.
No. It makes a big difference. So hopefully, you know, anyone listening to this is now, you know, seeing kind of how black and white can just deal with some very questionable CGI. Mm.
See, already that looks way better.
It does.
I mean, it's.
Does it look as good as it should have? Like since we know, you know, the practical exists. I don't know. I think it was always going to be practical mixed with CGI, and I wish they'd stuck with that more instead of painting over all the practical with CGI. Oh my god, somebody do something! It's like, what? Honestly, you know what I'm seeing here? I'm seeing the bugs from Starship Troopers. Especially with those claws and everything. You know, I'm seeing the bugs.
See, I wish there was a way, and maybe they played with it conceptually. Or I don't know if they did or not, but you know, on the one side, you know, I think about what the creature, how the creature was described in the original novel,
Mm-hmm.
and we've never been given that impression in film.
No.
And it's got this wild tentacles, crazy, like I think it's like 3 red eyes,
Yep.
and it's just got this absolutely insane look about it. And I get it. If you do it wrong, it's gonna look absolutely horrifically cheesy. It's just gonna it's like Jaws, man. I mean, with the mechanical shark, you're either gonna sink or swim with it.
Yeah.
But it's like, dang it, I wish we could see what is described in the original book.
Oh yeah.
Even if you just play it off as one other manifestation of other life forms that it's already imitated.
Yeah.
You don't have to play it off as the thing. This is, you know, the. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's,
Yeah. Especially the eyes. I mean, the eyes played a big part in the story, didn't they?
yeah. And of
You
course,
know?
it hurt having that, you know, axe wound in its head, driving it insane.
Yeah. I mean, it makes you wonder if that axe wound hadn't happened, maybe it would have been not necessarily friendly, but maybe you could have worked out something with it. Maybe there could have been some deal to be made.
What's great, I think, is there's a scene in there in the original story where one of the guys it has basically gone insane. I can't remember if he was actually infected or not. The question was maybe he was, but no one ever gets a chance to find out if he had been in fact infected because someone else in their group murders him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you never had that in any of these movies either. You never had someone just murder someone out of fear that they were the thing.
Yeah. And I mean,
Oh.
it would make sense.
Well, at least I should say, at least it's the end of this movie. I mean, it kind of happens at the end of this movie, but it's just it's not that effective. I don't think the scene they play out in the story is really. I'm sorry. Have you read the original story?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. So it's probably I'm probably bringing back memories for you a little bit.
Yeah.
The guy's singing the Christian hymns, and he just keeps singing, and it's driving everyone nuts. They're trying to watch movies and that, and they're and then suddenly somebody notices, hey, wait a minute, where's the singing? The guy's not singing anymore. They fight with his throat slit.
See, this scene I find works really well because I mean, I'm sure that's a practical effect. You know, and it goes back to, you know, the original one, obviously. The fact of the matter is, shouldn't she be doing this if she's this, you know, special paleontologist or whatever?
Yeah, she really, other than supposedly helping to carve out that block of ice, she really hasn't done much of anything except, you know.
Well, she's been the proper voice of reason. She's the one that's like, you know what? Let's not drill into the alien. Let's quarantine it or whatever. You know, it's like, no.
I say this stuff looks a whole lot better in black and white.
It does.
What's the issue? Because I'm not new. What's it doing to? But it appears it was solving.
See, I wish, and here we, I mean, these are themes we've already had played out with Carpenter's movie. I wish they could have just really, really had fun with new things.
Yeah.
No pun intended when I.
Could you imagine this? Could you imagine if there hadn't been like a scientist there? Could you imagine if they were all essentially just like grunt workers?
Oh, it would have been way better.
It would. I mean, you know,
Elliot 3.
exactly.
How much fun is that, man? They're all basically just regular Joes trying to self-isolate because, you know, they're well aware of their compulsions, and yet they're forced to have to band together to deal with this external threat. That's, you know, that's causing them to, you know, this stuff is just way too convenient.
Yeah. I love the fact that all of a sudden now he's like I'm not doing anything more. You can do it. Is it just me, or does that seem like a really long way? Like he broke his arm last year, and you know they're in the Antarctic, and he had to go to Argentina to get it fixed. Doesn't Argentina seem like a very long way to go from the Antarctic or whatever?
You know, I almost wish they would have. And I get. Well, no, not really. I mean, but this guy who, you know, is seemingly in charge of all of this.
Mm-hmm.
It you know, and I hate it when people imitate and replicate things. But I mean, you know, this movie pretty much does that anyways, on a lot of levels. You know, if they would have had his character really try to emulate the scientist there from the thing from another world, that would have been fun.
Oh yeah, that would have. And I mean, this particular scene, for example, I find it to be too clean.
Well, it's not only clean, but it really undermines the computer imagery that we have in Carpenter's film, which is
which
you're going to tell me the Norwegians had, you know, better technology than the Americans did at their camp?
Yeah.
Come on. I mean, and see, that's what hurts this movie too. I mean, you're right. You made a good point. If they would have just literally been cut off and it was just basically a bunch of regular Joes, and they're having to deal with this having stumbled into this nightmare. This movie could have really, man, worked on so many levels, and
it really could.
What, like the original 82? Yeah, maybe it would have been passed over in light of a lot of other movies that year, but maybe today we're talking about it going, I can't believe how freaking good this movie is.
Yeah. Also, maybe it's just me, but you know, from what I remember of the 80s, I don't remember any women with that type of hairstyle. That's a very 2000s hairstyle.
Oh, here we go. We got that. Isn't this the
Yep.
main special effects sequence? This is the first major test, black and white.
Yeah. One thing I do like is the fact that like at this point, like it's not policing, it's remnants, if you will. Like the parts that it can't digest, it's just leaving them where they drop. So it's kind of cool that, it's intelligent but not enough to realize, like this I could be found out from this.
That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on. I don't think he would have been. I don't think he would have been looking down at the ground at that point.
I would assume not. It makes you wonder, would this thing have done this if they just kept flying?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been looking for its way out.
Mm. 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 You suck as a pilot. McCready would have never done that.
Ain't been murder or any years on emergency channel. Do you call
All right, so what did you think?
Mm. It's impossible to reach them. It's like, yeah.
You're planning a disability, right? When you don't stop it, you get close to it. Let's be pure and real. All this can't be a coincidence.
Mm.
He's fucking dead.
That guy reminds me of Gary Busey.
I ain't coming storm. Too much interference.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, so here's the thing now. From that one experience, has it figured out now? It's like, okay, I gotta like clean up after myself.
I think it would have been better if it just left a mess.
Yeah, I mean, it would have definitely shown what's it called? Like I don't know.
You know, it's always refreshing when, you know, the person's like, I saw it. And then they take the others there and it's conveniently been cleaned up or gone or whatever. I
Mm-hmm.
was when the thing is still there. And the
Mm-hmm.
person can point to it and say, see?
Yeah.
Is that true?
This weakling, man, can't even.
Yeah. Quit being a simp.
Show yourself something.
She's got that look like, you're kidding me, right?
Yeah.
Okay. This is not the time to be yelling fire.
Why does this guy think he's in charge?
Right. Stop that. We all want the fucking information. It's for.
Mhm.
What are those?
Jones was found them by a puddle of blood in the shower. You can clone cells but not your You copy these, so it spit them out.
You wasted too much time already. No.
Listen! When I went, someone had cleaned up. Someone had wiped it away.
Hmm.
It's still here.
I'm good enough. I'll just call in. Give you here.
You can't leave. You can't leave. You don't know what we're dealing with.
You know what that scene reminded me of?
What?
The body was found in the lagoon. The baby was caught in the lagoon. The mother is in.
Exactly. Exactly.
For anyone missed that, Jaws 3D.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will. Way better than Part 4.
Oh yeah.
And see, that's. Now, mistake me if I'm wrong. In Carpenter's movie,
Mm.
the thing was the thing this manipulative that it would try to literally corner someone in order to take, or it was just a defensive reaction when put in the corner.
It always just seemed like a defensive reaction to me.
Because here she's like deliberately manipulating this girl
Yeah.
into a position where it just puts the thing, it moves it more from sort of a defensive reaction to an offensive reaction, or you know.
Hmm. I know the director of this has said, that he thinks like that the people are just like passengers at this point. Like they're still there, they can still think and everything, but everything's being controlled by the thing. So maybe his idea was, it was like using her knowledge or something. That looks better in black and white for sure.
It does. It still looks goofy, but I mean, it looks way better.
It just takes that edge off. You know? Hmm. Hmm. Take that, Sven. Mhm.
I love that Norwegian space.
Yeah.
That's what we needed more of. We
Yeah.
need that kind of serious paranoia.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
That looks a lot better.
Yeah.
Just the fire looks way better.
Yeah. Fire like rain looks really good in black and white. I kind of like that it had sort of enough intelligence to go and try to put itself out.
I'll tell you, when I was revisiting the Carpenter film earlier, I'll tell you what scene I'm always reminded just how freaking good um, Kurt Russell plays it off. That when in the dog kennel, when the dogs are when the dog is transforming and trying to soak up the other dogs.
Yep.
And that scene where Kurt Russell is, they're all sort of outside the cage, and God, what's his name there? The guy who's the dog handler is like, I don't know what it is. It's weird and pissed off, whatever it is. And then you just have that moment where Kurt Russell just sort of, it's the first real moment where he takes that sort of that leadership on, where he just quietly, just but sternly moves in front of the doorway, and just sort of takes command.
Yeah.
It's just, oh man, it's just such a great scene, and I don't know if that's even remotely replicated in this movie at all.
Yeah.
Not to mention you're giving it away out of here. Way to spread. It's like a virus. So what do we do with the virus?
Quarantine. We isolate it.
God, isn't that a word we've heard way too much lately?
Oh yeah. We have to rely on science. It's like, at this point, I would just want to throw him off a roof. That's the thing. Maybe if someone had taken him out, just due to the fact that that he's so arrogant and everything. If someone took him out because they're like, he must be one of them, and then it turned out he wasn't.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's sort of repeating a scene from Carpenter's movie, but if you would have had a Norwegian do it,
Yeah.
he could have just been played off as him being extra paranoid just because of everything happening.
Yeah. Well, hell, make it the guy that can't understand English.
Yeah.
I love that these two can kind of talk to each other, even though, he doesn't speak any English and she doesn't speak any Norwegian.
What?
Hmm.
Is everything all right?
Huh. You want a little bit of trivia?
Yeah, sure.
I was just looking at the trivia section on IMDb. Director Matthias von Henningen Jr. had such a negative experience with the film due to constant studio interference. Big surprise, right?
Yeah.
That he claimed to have lost his passion for filmmaking and retired for nearly a decade. Although he has been working on films again in Norway, he has since vowed never to work with an American studio again.
Hmm.
That ought to put a lot of things into perspective.
Yeah.
And that's funny to listen to Rob, man. Rob, his experiences on Halloween, and then you know those experiences nearly kept him from even considering doing H2, which he
Hmm.
says, you get to that point where you kind of forget just how bad things were, and then you're reminded 5 minutes in.
Hmm.
Right here, right now. Put me on the camera. Yeah. It could be murder. It could be survival, okay?
Yes, don't have to kill him. Remember, we just locked him up. Sanders test is ready. Please.
I love that they've just left this here. They've already determined, there's still cellular activity in it, but it's like, we'll leave it here anyway. You would think that, they'd have just, dumped it outside,
I mean, it's
burned it
funny.
with the rest.
You remember Kurt Russell's reaction, McCready's reaction, the first time that he's told out there in the vestibule or whatever, in Blair's diary, he mentions that the cellular activity is still active,
Yep.
and he's like, "Game on, let's do this thing."
Yeah. Don't move, demons. I love that.
See, he should have just fried one of them, man, just to make a point. Right there, you should just lit one of them right up.
We're preparing a test. Then we figure out.
See here,
Yeah, that's right out of John Carpenter's one. We'll figure out who's who.
well, see here's another one that might get under your skin. In order to not try to compete with Kurt Russell's portrayal of the '82 film's protagonist, R.J. McCready, the character of Kate Lloyd was designed to have traits in common with the character Ellen Ripley from Alien film series. Why does she have to be like anyone?
Exactly.
Why couldn't she just been her own freaking character
Yeah.
and react to things around her as they're happening and not, well, pretend you're seeing this from Ripley's point of view?
Yeah, it's like, come on. Well, at least someone finally burned that, what was left of it.
Someone's on the twisted. There's nothing there. Nothing. No, there's no test. How could this happen? Well, it was no accident. You. You were in there with it. You were the last one. accusing me? Why not? He's got something to hide. What are you, an asshole?
I do like that was a pretty good line.
Yeah.
There might be another way. Another way to tell. Peter, give me a first. Now tell Liz, I hope it's not. Tell him that it's not.
Oh, Jackson, yeah.
Dolores has feelings. So he's human. It can't take food.
I love the fact that she just like assumes that it can't, you know, replicate like inorganic material. Just because, you know, one of them happened to spit up some teeth. I would have done something like, you remember in the movie Phantoms? Where they find that big, like, it's like a big pile of, like, stuff, and they're like, is it like an offering? He's like, no, it's just, like, undigested food.
Isn't that based on that Kuntz book?
Yeah,
Isn't Liev Schreiber in that?
yeah. No, I mean, think how neat it would be, you know, if they just found like a giant pile of like fillings and all sorts of stuff. It would make this scene work more.
Now, see, this really pisses me off. The original design for the alien pilot in the spaceship resembled the thing's original form as described in the John W. Campbell Jr. short story, Who Goes There, with 3 eyes, long, spindly hair, but they never did it.
Oh, that's annoying.
Open your mouth.
Wouldn't it have been funny if they just fried them now?
Anyone else with porcelain fillings? Green teeth?
It's bloody absurd. This is wrong.
It's kind of like when McCready turns on the quick and shoots what's his name right in the head.
Yeah.
Could have had a scene kind of like that where, because of the action of one, the response of the other just isn't immediate.
Yeah.
You know, it could have been a real WTF moment, right? You know,
Could be. Yeah.
it's too, I don't know, it's too restrained, too.
Copiando.
I'd say Snow looks better in black and white too.
Yeah, it really does. I wonder how something like a movie like Everest or whatever would look in black and white.
It does look, man. Scenes like that look so freaking good.
They do.
Dude, I wish you would have lit one of these up, man, just to make a point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like if when she was away, like if he just lit them all up.
See, somebody needed to die right there, man. The tension
Yeah.
was getting too.
Yeah, yeah, it was.
Actually, that's the moment when, isn't it? Oh, who is it that? There's a similar scene in Carpenter's movie where what's his name decides to. He's like, oh great, and he bails and goes to try
Yeah.
to the rifle.
Yeah, yeah. Where'd his head go?
Show yourself. Right fucking now. Everybody interact, bro. Come on. Yeah.
This is a great scene right here, though.
That looks a little bit better in black and white.
Yeah. That's what you get for trying to run like a little bitch.
So technically, anyone who just got hit with that thing ought to be getting infected too, right?
I would assume so. I mean, that would make sense.
That looks way better in black and white.
Yeah. I kind of dig though how this explains, the twisted head guy from the original. The
Yeah.
yeah.
See, yeah. Too many of these scenes are right out of Carpenter's movies.
Yeah. And totally that the studio was like, do this scene, it'll harken back to the other one. It's like, really? That is the smart thing to do.
Carter,
You okay?
are you?
Yeah. You fighting?
Are we finally leading up to where the axe ends up in the door that
Yeah.
McCready has to push through?
Mm. Is he carrying a sword?
Uh,
It certainly looks like a katana, but that can't be right.
are you seeing a lot of just dark shadows?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if it was because I turned my contrast way down or. But it's
Oh
definitely.
yeah, quite a lot of dark shadows. It works quite well, actually. I mean, you know. Mm.
So I can't remember, when does he get infected?
I don't really know. That's one thing with this movie. I mean, when you watch the like John Carpenter's one, you can kind of figure out some rough times when things happen. But in this, it's like people get infected, and you're like, when did this happen? I don't know. You're in a kitchen. Just give it some ice cream. It'll be happy then.
Well, there you go.
Yep. Hmm. Mhm.
For what?
So I hated that we even have to lead to the ship.
Yeah.
You know, I would almost wished it would have somehow brought this thing to an end here, and then we saw the dog get loose.
Yeah, it would have made more sense. I mean, the whole ship scene is, I don't know.
I mean, well, we'll see it in a minute, but I mean, from what I remember, you don't even, there's nothing even in the ship.
No, it's just kind of empty, and I think it's like they wanted their their alien scene, where they go on like an alien ship.
And it's funny, it's like, it's almost kind of like no one could agree on what the interior should look like, so they said, you know what, there won't be anything.
Yeah.
Except that for that weird, did she just notice that?
I think so.
So when did it happen then?
Well, no. Actually, no, his earring's been in his left ear the whole time, so did she fry an innocent guy at the end? I don't know. The thing with this really is, it when you think about it logically, it's gone back to its spaceship. So wouldn't that mean it's planning to leave? In theory, you could have just let it go. Kind of the same in the John Carpenter one, where it's like building like a ship. Makes you wonder if you just left it alone, would it have just gone on its way? You suck. I mean, it's kind of a cool design for a ship. It's got that kind of like almost like, I don't know, like Event Horizon looking thing going on, but
I don't know. It seems almost blasphemous to be in this thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to be in here. It's like I said, it's kind of a cool design, but I mean, look at this. It looks like it's ripped straight out of Alien.
And not near as good as Alien.
No, almost like biomechanical looking stuff, and
I'll say that kind of looks a little more cool in black and white than it does.
yeah,
Although the color of it, I think, is a nod to, um, isn't it blue? And the color actually blue?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah, I think the original story alludes to the alien is from a place where there's a blue sun.
yes. Like, oh please, that's right out of Alien as well.
Yeah, I like the Blair creature better in the other movie.
Yeah.
See, at least with Alien, when we had that one ship, we had the space jockey.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're gonna take us inside, man, you might as well show us some things.
Yeah, not just some kind of janky corridors. I'm quite sure like this is all studio interference and stuff like that. Here you go, eat that. As it conveniently closes its mouth on it. Yeah, it was like starting up the ship. You should just let it go. Probably didn't want to be here any more than like they did.
Well, I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense either. I mean, if it's just a matter of powering it back up and taking off. Why didn't it do it after it originally crashed?
Yeah, you'd have thought.
'Cause, I mean, the thing crawls out of the. Well, we're led to believe it crawls out of the ship because it has nowhere else to go.
Mhm. I know there was talk about like it being like it was actually like a prisoner, and then like it like ate the crew, and so it doesn't actually know how to fly it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I just. Yeah, I don't. Is there even mention an American camp?
No.
See, you would think. Well, they do mention the Soviet camp, right?
Yeah.
But they don't mention American camp.
Are you sure we're back in place?
Hmm.
Presumably because it's much further.
I guess so. Yeah.
I wish you were here.
So I'd like to know when he turned.
Yeah. Like, wouldn't it have been cool if he hadn't have turned, if like he was actually human, but he just like lost the earring or something, and then she'd have to kind of live with that.
It's just irritating. It should have been the Norwegian story.
Yeah.
It's her story.
You know what it needs, honestly? Someone needs to like either write a book or like a comic or something and just tell the Norwegian story. Essentially give us the version we should have got.
Well, see, that's why I think the Norwegian story, in effect, should have been the story of the original novella not told.
That would have made so much sense.
I mean, in a weird, ironic way, this movie actually could have been more of an imitation of the thing from another world, yet drawn closer to the original source material than actually Carpenter's film
Yeah.
was. Just because of the larger cast and
Maybe that's what it should have been. Maybe it should have been a remake of that.
yeah, a remake of the thing from another world, but reflecting on things in the story not yet conveyed, in the films.
Yeah.
The huge cast, the
Hmm.
somehow they find they find the thing in the ice, and they, for whatever reason, they try to keep it secret because they know they have to deal with it,
Hmm.
to save the threat from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So
It
doing,
makes sense.
yeah, I mean, I wish they would have paid more attention to the original
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I think maybe it was wrong for this to
Exist.
well take the forensic approach that it did.
Yeah.
I would have been more interested in seeing, a story pulled from, the original and you mentioned, I mean, we haven't read it, but I mean the longer version of the book.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know what's in there.
Yeah.
There we go.
Mm-hmm.
See, I don't know. For me, none of what we just saw leads to this point. This part feels like it's just attached
Yeah.
for old time's sake.
Yeah. It does.
It doesn't feel like it's part of the rest of the movie.
No. Well, let's be honest, it isn't. I mean, that's Carpenter footage right there. Not that. But,
Now, this is interesting. You can help me make sense of this.
Mhm.
In the trivia section, in the Carpenter film, there is some confusion regarding who is who among the two people in the helicopter. During the airborne chase, the shooter, called Lars in the 2011 prequel,
Mhm.
is sitting on the right side of the chopper, as seen from the front. After the chopper lands, a person who is, by all appearances, the shooter, however, exits the chopper from the opposite side where the pilot ought to be sitting. Interpreting the scenes in the light of the prequel, it is Lars who tries to throw the grenade and loses it in the snow, then running away. In the next moment, it must be Matthias who digs for the grenade in a desperate attempt to save his helicopter. However, in the Carpenter movie, it is not entirely clear who is doing what.
Hmm. I don't know.
That whole sequence is kind of interesting because it always, and it's the only part of the entire movie that comes across like this to me, but it is a little goofy how the grenade leaves his hand.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like,
It's almost like a mistake. It's like you go to wind up for the pitch and then the ball just leaves your hand.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it just like in preparing to throw it, it just, I don't know, leaves his hand. The other guy sees and starts to dig for it, and of course,
Yeah.
the rest is, as they say. Yeah, they say in here, the fate of Kate, like that of Childs and McCready, is left mostly ambiguous, though it is possible that she survived with enough fuel in the Snowcat to make it to the Soviet base, where she would have been taken back to civilization. However, since Carter was the one who knew the location of the Soviet base, this seems unlikely. In addition, the film's writer Eric Hessier revealed in an interview with the website Bloody Disgusting that in a script he wrote, Kate does not survive.
I don't think she survives. Because I mean, think of when this takes place, 1982. It was still during the Cold War, wasn't it? So if she had gone to like a Russian base, that'd be like going to like an enemy's base,
You make a good point. If
Mhm.
we're still technically in the Cold War, then it It would have been nice if there would have been some sort of uh, some sort of something laid out to the effect of, look, uh, going to the Soviet base is not an option, for obvious reasons.
Hmm.
Here's why we need to try to make it to the American camp.
Yeah.
But you get none of that.
Nope. No. I don't know. This is a movie with so many missed opportunities that could have easily been taken, but from everything I'm hearing and everything, I'm really blaming studio interference on this one.
Here's another one. The character Lars is supposed to be the same Norwegian as the one who was shot to death in the beginning of The Thing, 1982, after trying to kill the dog thing. He is the one wearing the goggles with the horizontal slits and the deleted from The Thing 82. The Americans find dog tags on his body identifying him as Jan Bolin. However, since this information did not make it to the screen, the makers of this prequel were free to call him Lars.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, when all's said and done, Lars could be a nickname. Nothing saying that,
Just scrolling through the rest of the trivia, seeing if there's anything.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's certainly a flawed movie, but it's certainly better in black and white.
Way better in black and white.
Yeah, it just takes off that, that edge that the CG has.
Now, here's something interesting. Have you ever seen that movie Sunshine?
I don't think I've ever seen it, no.
They say at around 2 minutes, the signal at the beginning of the movie when the Norwegians find the spaceship sounds like the SOS signal from Danny Boyle's movie Sunshine.
Huh.
When the Icarus 2 crew snapped the signal from the Icarus 1, this is because both signals are based on actual sounds received from space, the origin of which are still unknown.
Hmm.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few others. There's a lot of trivia. For those of you who are interested in IMDb, there's just a lot of trivia stuff. I guess maybe we'll just end on this one. Peter is one of 3 Thule station members who was killed by a human. The second is Colin, who killed himself. The third is Lars, who was killed by Gary.
Hmm.
Tyus was also killed by a human, but unintentionally, contrary to the other 3.
Well,
It goes on and on and on. I can't remember the last time I saw so much trivia.
see, that would be something that they could have done, which I think would have been kind of cool if, like, the Thing only ever actually killed, like, one person. If, like, it took over the dog and, like, tried to take over one person, and the rest of it was just the people freaking out and the paranoia, and they ended up killing everyone else. While in the meanwhile, the Thing is the dog, and it's just watching this, and it's like, what the hell?
So, for those who actually hung on this long and listened, I'm just curious. I'm looking at my menu screen now. I have a feature commentary with Matthias von Henningen and producer Eric Newman. I got a couple small things here. The Thing Evolves, Fire and Ice,
Mm-hmm.
deleted and extended scenes. What do you got?
Exact same. Yep.
Same. Yeah. It's been so long I can't remember exactly all that was really what was said or not, but it seems like I do remember the commentary being pretty good, but it's been a long time since I listened to it.
Yeah. I watched one of the features a bit earlier, and you know, what you saw in there was the fact that they were trying to be true to the Carpenter version. Like they were trying very hard to like okay, well the axe is here in this scene. So how does it get there? You know, we'll figure it out. You know, so it makes you wonder how when they were that like passionate or whatever about keeping the continuity and everything, how they could let it go so far in the other direction. And again, I'm thinking it's purely studio.
Well, I mean, based on that little bit of trivia, the director basically for 10 or so years not having anything to do with filmmaking because of his experiences.
Yeah,
I mean, that
kind of
tells
says
you,
something.
I mean, when he says, like in the one documentary on this, you know, he says some of these things with a smile on his face, but maybe the truth is, I mean, he really wanted this to be a Norwegian picture, and the studio just quietly said, if you want this movie at all, it's going to be this way.
I believe that.
And I mean, it's the same old freaking story, no matter where you go, who you hear, regardless of what you may think. Somebody like Rob Zombie, the stories I've heard him talk about over and over and how he was treated, or I mean, even George Romero. I mean, there's a reason why he didn't do another big studio film after Land of the Dead.
Yeah.
These guys just, they tried it, they got burned, and they said screw. I mean, look at Carpenter. I guess for all intents and purposes, I mean, isn't the Thing his only real big?
Yeah, pretty
No,
much. I mean, he had The Thing was a pretty big
I mean
you
that
know,
was his first big studio.
yeah, and other than that, I mean, maybe Starman.
Yeah, well, Carpenter lucked out though. I mean, he's talked about how he basically pretty much had the freedom to do much of what he wanted to do without any real issues. But I think because the movies he had done up to that point had made so much money,
Yeah,
they were willing. And plus, it is 1981, 82. It is a little bit different of a game back then.
yeah, for sure.
Shoot, I mean, just the fact they went up to British Columbia and literally built a set during the summer and then came back out in the winter to film the exterior shots. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, that stuff just doesn't happen like that very much anymore.
very true. Very true.
So yeah, it is. It is a very. It is. It's another example of regardless of what you may or may not think of this particular film, understanding the director's plight, you can at least empathize and at least through maybe watching it like we did in black and white, you can offset some of the other things and enjoy for what it is, and which is really sort of just a setup to Carpenter's film, at least in the sense of how did those key moments come to be realized.
Yeah,
That's really all it is. But like you've said many times, it could have been so much, could have been so much more.
that's the thing. You know, that's what really irks me about it. The fact that it could have been something really special. It could have been like the rebirth of like the creature feature, but it wasn't. And that's just kind of sad.
But definitely I mean, it's worth revisiting in this way, especially maybe some of the things we said, will be new to you know whoever ends up listening.
Yeah, and I mean, hell, like if you actually enjoy this movie, good for you. But yeah, I think maybe you're a bit wrong, but that's just my opinion. Um,
If anything, man, just go get the original book by John W. Campbell, Who Goes There, um, and read it for yourself. Read the story for yourself and just see how much they've actually left out.
Yeah.
As short as that story is, it's just hilarious how much of it's left out.
Yeah. It's all in all, like, how can I put this? This is a movie that doesn't need to exist, but it does. So make the best of it that you can and watch it in black and white.
Definitely. All right, call it a wrap on this one.
Yeah. So that was our commentary. Hope everyone enjoyed. Yeah. There we go. We'll see you next time with something, no doubt. Okay. See ya.